Hey, it's good to see you. Hello. This is a slightly different setup from usual because I'm sitting in a chair, which is fantastic. Usually I'm sitting on the floor, but I wanted you like a little further away so that I can hold things up tonight for you. I have lots of cool things to show you, all very random, but I'm very excited. So most of them are paper goods. Before we get into the paper goods, I just wanted to take a second to recommend two channels that I have been binge watching lately. And there are a lot of new channels that I've discovered this summer, and I've really been enjoying. The two that I have been like clicking on so fast lately are, I'll link them down below. Quiet Guy ASMR. She's fantastic. If you are here ever for book hauls, book reviews, rambles where we're just hanging out, anything like that, you should definitely check her out because she does all of those things. And there's just something about her energy that is wonderful. She teaches, she played college basketball, she's quite tall, she's very thoughtful, she seems like a creative person, and I just really enjoy watching practically all of her videos and pretending we're friends and pretending we hang out. So what more can you ask for, really? And also Sarah ASMR. She is an American living in Japan, where she works in a school, and she does kind of like rambly, not quite rambles, usually there's more of a point, like Q&As or how I moved to Japan or like Japanese apartment tour kind of stuff. Also does really good true crime. And she has a video about her own scary story, like supernatural occurrences, and that one I loved it. She speaks so slowly, which is something that I struggle with, and she does so brilliantly. And she too just has this like really wonderful energy. I feel like Quiet Kai's energy is like, she reminds me of college friends I had, and it feels like that kind of connection in college or post-college. Like, she's like my college friend. And Sarah ASMR's energy is like as friendly, but there's also, at least in terms of the content her channel offers, there's like a little bit of a darker, spookier bent just from the videos I've watched, because it includes true crime and some of her own experiences, which are very interesting. Although that's not all she does, because I've also watched a video of her talking about vitamins that I liked a lot. Workplace drama videos, workplace gossip, that's really good. So, wonderful people to check out. If you guys like recommendation videos for ASMR channels, let me know, because there are many more people that I could bring up right now. I'm just focusing on two that I've been watching like it's my job. So those are my recs of late. So check them out. Okay. Moving on to paper goods. I'm gonna start with something that my friend brought me. He visited recently. He is a visual artist, and we were talking about endings in art and also different containers for art and different structures for art. And he was telling me that he took this class where this guy made all these diagrams for different ways to structure your art. I think that the diagrams are often made with visual art in mind, or film, I would say, like with temporal facets to it. And what's so fun about these diagrams is kind of trying to mine out the good stuff and translate it to other media. So if it is intended for videos, like saying, okay, but what would this look like in a painting, or what would this look like in a dance, or something like that. So when my friend came to visit me, as a thank you for hosting him, they crashed here. He got me one of these diagrams. Let me figure out. Okay, it goes like this. He got me one of these diagrams from the guy who's taking a class from. So it's like a poster size. There are two of them. But I'm just going to show you one tonight. So as you can see, it says endings. And then there are different examples of the way endings might go in a work of art. So no ending. So you're just like boom, 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 boom. And you continue. Then we have abrupt. You're like boom, 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 boom. An abrupt ending. So you can imagine how maybe these would play out in a movie. And then the fun part for me and my friend was thinking about how they would play out in, like I said, a dance, or a TV show, or a play, or whatever. Here we have end, then words. So some visual element ending in words. Here we have fade out, so a slow fade out ending. Then abrupt, then fade out, so an abrupt ending with a fade. Here is reverse fade, so like this, and then the fade comes back this way. Hidden track, so maybe like on a music album. Sometimes for work, I'm required to call a phone a smartphone. So then in conversation, I'll be talking and I'll say, oh, where is my smartphone? And I feel so out of touch, but it's because I'm in the habit for work. Anyway, like on a music album, right? On an album. Hidden track, it's like you think the ending has happened, but it hasn't. So what would that look like for a painting kind of thing? Then we have wild, so a lot of variation. And here we have repeat ending. So here and then more endings. It reminds me too of the book The End of Days by Jenny Urbanbeck. That's nice. It's a story about this girl and her life. It's been a while since I read it, but let's say there's 5 chapters. Chapter 1 happens, then there's like this interstitial bit here, just a page or 2 long, where she dies. Or maybe here's the first chapter. She dies at the end of it. And then there's an interstitial bit where she like continues on, and the ending of this chapter is kind of rewritten. Then there's more life, and then an interstitial part where maybe she dies, or the other, she continues. So then the next part of life. So basically there are these little intervals spliced into the chapters, in between the chapters, where it appears that the story has ended, but it has not, and she goes on. Sort of similarly to, I think of the book Godel by Douglas Hofstadter, which is just a wild book. I don't really know how to describe it here. It's about math and the soul and art. And in one part of it, they're talking, the tortoise and the hare, I believe. And they say, you always know when a book's going to end because you're holding it and you can tell that there are fewer pages at the end until you get to the end and then it ends. So they propose writing a book in which there are just extra pages, not blank because that would be obvious when you skimmed through it too, but extra pages that are filled with sort of lorem ipsum that looks like novel material but is nonsense, and then hidden in the pages, like say 4/5 of the way through or 2/3 of the way through or 1/3 of the way through, you write in like this is the end, and so all the rest of it is like a decoy. Anyway, so I have that fun chart on endings now, which I'm really excited about. Okay, let's see what else I have here. It's on my tiny table. Okay, I had brought some coffee to show you, but I'm gonna pass on that right now because I'm scared it's gonna be too loud. I just liked the descriptions on the packaging that was like cocoa and cherry and coffee and, you know, all the flavors that they put on. Okay, something else is this zine that I found at a bookstore. It's called I Could Never Be Like the Thorn of a Rose. I could never be like the thorn of a rose. Usually when I flip through zines, I have a friend who makes zines and I love his zines. If I pick up a random zine somewhere, I usually flip through it and maybe, if I'm lucky, some of it I like, but not all of it. And when I picked up this one, I loved all of it so much that I knew I had to get it because I knew if I didn't get it in that moment, that I would forget about it. It's not like a book, you know, like where you can get it at any bookstore. And for me, at least, it stays on my mind. I have a running list, and then I pick it up, kind of thing. So I got it. It has all these really lovely designs inside, and it has this spooky sort of vibe. I showed it to my friend because I got it when he was in town, and he was like, that reminds me of you. I'll show you a few pages. The world continues to chase itself, stepping outside as though it were capable of the very flight that it despises. And then the rest of the pages have this figure that goes into a bar and these kind of fountain-like designs. I don't know why, not this one, but the other ones remind me a lot of water. So here's this creepy figure. Here's this ridiculous font. It says, a man walks into a bar. And it says, and the bar starts filling up with water. And like, here's this other design. The man says, I'm sure I'll understand this by the time the water reaches the ceiling. So all this water, and like almost like a night sky up here. You can just like feel the water falling. And there's this thing where, I mean, this is quite disturbing. there's this thing where like they're holding something in their hands and little riddles and hiding things and lots of designs like this. And lots of designs like this. So I don't know what it was about this zine, but I like felt so strongly about it, and I still do. So if you're interested, I would check it out. Okay, then I have these things I don't think I showed you. I bought them on a work trip that I was on a while ago. I was there for an extended period, and I wanted to decorate my bedroom just a little bit so that it felt a little cozier. So at the local bookstore, I found 2 works of art, I'll say, that I bought and hung up just like with little push pins. But I didn't stick it into the paper. I put 2 push pins up top and 2 at the bottom to kind of like bracket it in. So one is this woodcut, I guess, of these beautiful birch trees. I love the yellow, the blue, and the green together. And it just felt like the place I was in, but it also reminded me a bit of my childhood. I grew up outside of a forest, and that makes it sound more magical, but there was a forest by my house for a period of time. The forest was always there, but I wasn't raised like 1 to 18 years old in this one house by this forest. We were just there for a few years, but I loved the forest so much, and this reminded me of it. So it's this beautiful paper. So I got that, and then this woman made, it's just a greeting card, I think. Like, you know, you write a message inside and you send it to someone, which actually this is too. It's a card you can send to someone, but I used it as art. This one is made by cutting stamps out of bits of potato. Like, you cut the potato in half, I believe. You carve the design, and then you put that in paint, and then put that on the paper, and you stamp the paper with the potato. You stamp the paper with the potato. Stamp the potato. Stamp the paper with the potato. I did it in Girl Scouts once. So, yeah, I knew exactly what she was talking about. Anyway, it's this like very quaint white picture. But what I loved most about it was these little repetitive patterns back here. This like chicken scratch. I loved this envelope here a lot. It looks like enamel to me for some reason. And then these flowers, I think, are just lovely. So I had both of these hanging up on my wall, and they made me very, very, very happy. It's getting hot. Oh my gosh. If you love summer, I still love you, but we have a difference between us. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is an insert from a book that I am reading, which you'll hear about shortly. I have plans. I have big plans to do a like what I'm currently reading book video. But I don't know if you'll see that first or this. Anyway, this is from the book called Wild Geese Returning, which is about Chinese reversible poems. I studied Mandarin in school, and I had to take a class on classical Chinese, which, if you know anything about it, it's so difficult. There are no, in Chinese anyway, there's no like agreement, no gender, no like conjugations really. And then classical Chinese is further distilled so that when you see a character, it could be a noun, it could be a verb, it could be any particle of speech, plus it's in Chinese, plus it's in Old Chinese. So imagine reading Shakespeare as a non-native English speaker and you're not sure if the word rose is a noun or a verb or an adjective or whatever. You know, it's just like bonkers difficult. So anyway, for fun, I decided to read this book. It's all in translation, of course, but it's about Chinese reversible poems that are written in classical Chinese, which is difficult, as I just explained. And these poems are very particular because there's more than one way to read them. And that's made possible because Chinese is so tricky and like open and like versatile in that way. So the coolest one was sent by a woman to her husband when he went away for work. I'm making it sound very modern day, but this is like old. It's old, an old story. He got sent away for like government business or the military, and she sent this love poem to him because she had been mad at him when he went, and he asked her to go with him. She said no. So he took his concubine, who was very beautiful, very talented dancer and singer, and the wife regretted not going. So to show her regret, she sent him this poem. It was embroidered on silk with different colors to show different ways of reading it, but basically there are like thousands of ways to read it. The center character here, Shin, is, it means heart. And so all of these are different poems. You can read, this is a poem, like this is a poem, these make poems. You can read lines coming out of the axes here that go across, and I believe these axes are rhyming words, so that marks like the way that the lines can alternate or break up differently. You can read them like this way, kind of thing. There's just like a million combinations, and they give you this handy dandy insert. And I am just like so taken with it. So if you're interested in that kind of thing at all, or if you're just interested in history, if you're interested in poetry, if you're interested in art, any of that, highly recommend. So those are the things I wanted to share with you tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I love hanging out with you, even when it's hot out. I love it so much. I hope you're doing super well. And if you're not, that is okay too. I'll see you very soon. And until then, good night, good night.